Will China become the next great superpower, and why should I care? By Elizabeth Harmon. Next slide, please. Will China become the next great superpower? China is going through an economic boost not seen in hundreds of years. It is most comparable to the age that the world had directly after the Dark Ages, in which we made our own technological and economical advances. They are finally catching up to the rest of the world, and soon could surpass everyone. In 2030, experts believe that it is poised to overtake everyone and become the leader of world powers. Several things hold them back, though, from becoming that next great superpower that we should be concerned about. Next slide, please. Reasons they could be the next great superpower. Their advancement, as mentioned, is one that has never been seen before in the world. It is amazing how fast they have grown, coming out of their own dark ages, as it were. Their trade empire is immense, trading with all but a few countries in the world. They are the second in world powers according to the last ranking, with the U.S. just clinging by their fingernails to their spot as number 1. They are also part of the P5+1 and the United Nations. It's a really big deal, as it means they have a lot of influence in the world. Next slide, please. In this chart, the top 10 powerful countries ranking in 2012, China is ranked as second. In the quote next to it, it says, though it ranks significantly below the U.S. in capabilities, analysts predict that it is poised to overtake the U.S. as the most powerful country in the world in 2030. Next slide, please. Reasons they could not be the next great superpower. They have been riddled by civil wars before, like with the nationalists and communists, which almost tore their country apart. Who knows if they will be riddled with another civil war, which could tear their country completely in half. They are poisoning their good, farmable land with their electronic recycling. They burn the metals that the electronics come in, and it releases dangerous, poisonous elements into the water and the land, and it gives people cancer, and it kills people. Also, concern has been expressed regularly that the economy might overheat from the speed it is growing, which is kind of a big deal because they could have a major crash, and I don't think they want to see that. Next slide, please. More reasons. The government is not listening to their own people, like with the Three Gorges Dam and Tiananmen Square. With the Three Gorges Dams, many experts said this is not a good idea. The land here is bad, this is not a good place to put this, and the government did it anyways, and people are suffering because of it. There's a lot more pollution, there's a lot of problems. Tiananmen Square, the students and the revolters wanted to be able to have the freedom of speech, which is a right that is not given to them, and they are being suppressed, and the students were driven from the square and by military action, which was not completely agreed on in the government, but was used anyways. Next slide, please. Now, why should I care? Back at the beginning of this semester, China was one of the most talked about things in the world, according to the infamous site that we were asked to visit. It still is to this day, right up there with Russia, Ukraine, the U.S., and Germany. In 2030, as mentioned, China is expected to overrun the United States in leaders of the world. China owns a large portion of the United States' national debt, much of which is trade, because we are enormous trade partners. And many of our jobs are being sent overseas to them. If we kept our jobs here, many more people would have jobs and the economy would be better, because we would be putting money back in instead of sending the money to them. Next slide, please. Conclusion. In this presentation, I've given several reasons why China could or could not be the next great superpower. But with everything bad that has happened and is continuing to happen that outweighs all the good, my personal opinion is that they will not be the next great superpower. Thank you for listening to this presentation. Next slide, please.